Oh, Barry Ferguson. Oh, I could sing it all day, but the reality is Brendan Rodgers would be turning it off. Welcome back to Fog Football. Of course, recently, Barry Ferguson essentially said that he can't tell Rangers fans to back Russell Martin because the guy's a wee bit pish. Brendan Rodgers appeared to fire a couple of shots Barry Ferguson's way alongside Neil McCann, Billy Dodds and Al McGregor. Of course, the four of them made up the new Orange Order, and Barry Ferguson's responded. Now, in terms of the Rodgers comments, I don't think I made a fid on it personally. I think he might have made it. But in case you were living under a rock, essentially what Rodgers said is that doesn't really know how these guys can have a go at Russell Martin when they were pretty bad as Rangers managers. I mean, yeah, Barry Ferguson. I mean, if you look at our domestic record since the turn of the year, I mean, or maybe since Clement gets sacked, right? Maybe that's a bit more fair because that's what we're referencing here. It's been a disaster, man. So here, we all remember that run last year. We went like 7 games without a win at Ibrox, losing most of St Mirren, Hibs, Motherwell, losing all these games in the league. Then you also had the Queen's Park disaster. Then you had a few games against Fenerbahce, drew the game against Bilbao. So many games at home were just absolutely tragic state of affairs, man. So you know what? As much as I would love to sit here and say Rodgers is talking absolute pish, you could say it is a wee bit hypocritical about why Barry Ferguson and guys can come out and blast Russell Martin. But the fact of the matter is this: even as poor as the Barry run was last year, right, it was still 150 million times better than Russell Martin. And a key thing is Barry didn't bullshit us. Barry told us he's a straight shooter, and he told us the truth. Russell Martin has basically refused to do that. Now, this is what Barry Ferguson responded with, firing back a few shots of his own at Brendan Rodgers. And I quote, "The one thing I would stress is that I hadn't diminished in any way my respect for him as an excellent, very successful manager. But I do feel I have to make it clear that what he said was wrong. Neither myself, Neil McCann or Billy Dodds have said anything disrespectful about Russell or what's been going on at Rangers this season. I have listened to every word of it, and it's been constructive at all times. None of it has been remotely personal. People have said the criticism was aimed at my backroom staff, but for me, it was aimed at all of us. They were my staff, I was in charge, so it was aimed at me as well. Our tactics obviously weren't perfect because we lost a few games and we know we could and should have done better in some of them. But we did get our tactics spot on when we won at Celtic Park, and they couldn't beat us at Ibrox in the second Old Firm derby. So we also had a good idea of what we were trying to do. Like I've said, it's an emotional game. Sometimes people say things they later regret. I'm not angry, but we are guys who have played, coached and understand the game. So I found the tone of what was said just very unnecessary." End of quote. Again, I agree with what Barry was saying. I don't think it was personal. I mean, it wasn't personal, but at the same time, when you're a fan of the club, right, it doesn't matter what way you're wording it. It's going to be personal to a degree because you're a fan of the club, but he didn't make it personal with him and Martin. There's a difference. You know, obviously it's going to be personal for Barry Ferguson. He's a Rangers man, so it's personal from the Rangers side of things. But in terms of the actual Rangers manager, it's not personal. But again, he does talk about the fact that they did pick up a draw. They defeated Celtic at Parkhead last year, and they did pick up a draw at Ibrox. But at the same time, Russell Martin could turn around and say he picked up a draw at Ibrox between them and Celtic. Doesn't mean I'm going to sit here and pretend that Russell Martin's the man. And oh, look, yeah, those games gave us a good idea what he's trying to do. But moving on, Barry says that he suspects the real reason for Rodgers breaking the managerial code is that it lies a lot closer to the Irishman's recent unhappiness with his own board of directors. He said, and I quote, "I couldn't see any reason for it. It just felt a bit odd coming from a man of his experience. It felt very much like a deflection tactic. If I had been asked the same sort of question, I would have simply shut it down on the basis of that's not my job to comment or concentrate on what's happening at another club. Celtic have obviously got their own internal issues at the moment, and that's not my concern." End of quote. Yep, Barry brings up a valid point, but the fact of the matter is this, folks. Brendan Rodgers is obsessed. Celtic are obsessed. And that's why I had to reference Russell Martin. I actually agree with Barry. It is probably a deflection tactic. But, again, who knows? Only really Rodgers knows the truth. But he loves a dig at Rangers. And sadly, we've been able to give him far too many bullets, far too many I mean, just far too much ammunition over the years. How many times we sat here on this channel and talked about Chris Sutton has got unlimited ammo and Boyd's sitting there with hee-haw scraps, and it's kind of the same here. But Brendan Rodgers can fire out all the digs he wants, because yeah, Barry can talk about, well, we picked up a point last year, or we won at Parkhead, but at the end of the day, what did it get us? Hee-haw. Didn't get us any trophies, and that's what matters. So yeah, Barry has fired back at Rodgers. Later on the night, folks, we Falkirk Hibs review, currently watching it, and also might be a video about Jimmy Thielen, because he could get sacked because they're getting beat 1-0.